Okay, so in our previous video, we looked over query string parameters and how it is mainly used for the process of filtering out data. And we also learned about the request dot query property that allowed us to access the search value from the URL. And in this video, similar to how we did it route parameters, I am going to implement the whole filtering feature, but in the front end. I mean, through the front end, right? And in the next video, I'll be doing the same thing the better way through the backend using rec.query, right? But for now, looking at the front end, what I have here is uh, a basic, I'm linking it to the home page. So I have the input field with the name search in my home page. And for the JavaScript part, I'm calling the display data function like how we did with the previous videos, right? So this function is asynchronous and we are yet to cover the topics of async await, which we'll be doing in the future videos. So what I'm doing here is I am taking in the link or the Windows location and storing it inside link, and I am splitting it using this delimiter and using the .pop method. So what it really does is, suppose I have this URL and I am searching for, suppose, Galaxy, right? So what my .split delimiter does is, since this is the delimiter, the dot split method divides this thing into two parts. So the first part is the localhost 5000 and second part is my searched term. And what the dot pop method does is it gives me the latter part. So this being the delimiter, it gives me the searched value. All right. And we are converting the search value to lowercase and we are replacing all the white spaces with nothing. So we are just removing all the white spaces, whether it is a tab space or a new line space or like normal spaces, right? We are just removing all the space and we are getting the value. So let's try and console log this. All right, I will be showing you the result in my console. So now when I search for this term, you can see that we get the search value in lowercase. Now, uh, suppose I want to search for Acer or like Acer, but I'm giving a lot of spaces here. So I'm searching for Acer where we are making the R uppercase too. And when I search for it, you can see that it just removes all the spaces and it converts everything into lowercase. So this will be useful when we are comparing the object data, object name with this search value. So we'll be looking at it in a second. So let me just remove the console for now. And what we are doing here is we are fetching the API data like we did with the previous videos. So whenever I go to this route, it gives me all the array of objects with all object data. And we are converting this item value to JSON in order to use it. So now for the main JavaScript part. So let me just uncomment this out and let's go over it. So what I am doing here is I'm iterating through all of my JSON data, that is my array. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to find the object name that starts with our search value. All right. So I have a condition here that if the object data's name, which I converted into lowercase and replace all the spaces with nothing, if this starts with my search item, then I am creating this new element that is the text element and I am displaying it in my HTML. So let's just go over it. So what JSON data with the first index dot name gives me is it gives me uh, in the first loop, it gives me the value of iPhone 13 Pro with all the spaces and the upper cases, right? Now, what I do is I convert it into lowercase. I replace all the spaces with, I mean, basically, I just omit all the spaces. And if the search item is included in the name, then I return the whole object name. All right. So in this case, what I'm using is the starts with method. We can also use the include method if you want to be more vague about it. But when I use the starts with method, the object name must start with my search item. Okay, so let's just go over it. So if this condition is true, then what I'm doing is I am creating a new div element and I'm adding the text content as the JSON data's name. So I should be getting the name of the JSON data, right? And I'm just appending it into my body. So let's just go over it. So if I just save it and suppose I want to search for a product that starts with A. And here is all the products that start with the letter A. If I type in X, I should get the products that start with X. Now, if I am more specific, if I want to search for Xiaomi, then Xiaomi, then I get the product that starts with Xiaomi, right? So since I'm using the starts with method, if I forget the X and if I type in AIAOMI, then it's not going to give me anything because I'm using the starts with method. But if I use the includes method, then if I search for IAOMI, it will give me Xiaomi because the text is included in our object data name, right? So this really depends on what you want your program to, I mean, your search function to give out. I usually prefer the starts with method because it is more specific. Now, suppose I give out all the spaces. All right, I give out all the spaces, and I yeah, and if I press enter, you can see that it still gives me the product data. And this is the basic feature. This is the basic implementation of it in the front end using JavaScript. And in our next video, we will be doing the same thing in our backend.